Started. So welcome to our first GB meeting for the spring. So just a little bit of overview of our purpose as a club. We want to provide opportunity through which, thank you, interested interested students may explore and gain knowledge of the field of veterinary medicine. We want to provide an opportunity to develop closer ties of fellowship through social atmosphere, and we want to help guide students interested in veterinary medicine towards opportunities that include hands-on experience, community service, and exploration of the profession. We also want to facilitate an environment that is supportive of all students' mental, physical, social, and intellectual well-being. For those of you that have been here, you know us, but if you're new here, we're going to introduce the executive board. So I'm Emily Brunka. I'm the president. I'm a fourth year biology major. Courtney.
My name's Elena Firth. I'm an animal science. I'm a senior vet major. I'm your CFAS representative. I'm Daniela. I'm a third year animal sciences major, and I'm your vet school liaison.
I'm Addison. I'm a second year animal science major, and I'm your mental health chair.
I'm Brenda. I'm a fourth year biology vice president.
I'm Lily. I'm a third year animal sciences major and I'm your program coordinator.
My name is Nicholas. I am a fourth year animal sciences major. I'm your secretary too.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm a third year animal science major, obviously on the pre-vet track. I'm your community engagement.
I'm Sydney. I'm a third year animal sciences major, and I'm your membership engagement chair.
Last but not least, hi guys. I'm a third year animal sciences major, and I serve as your treasurer.
So just to go over briefly the membership status. So to be a member in good standing, you have to pay dues and attend 4 general body meetings. To be a member with active status, you also have to pay dues, 4 general body meetings, and then earn 3 additional points from an activity outside of a general body meeting. So an example of that could be attending an EB meeting, a social, a fundraiser, a volunteering event, or joining a herd group. This is important to keep in mind if you're looking to hold an executive board position next year. Nominees for office should have been active members for 1 semester preceding the election, as well as the semester in which the elections take place. So if you are new here, you're just joining and you weren't active last semester, you are able to, thank you. You are able to petition that with good reason to the executive board. Like, say you had a lab at Wednesday nights and you couldn't make the meetings and that made you not active, you can petition that to us. But we will have an executive board position Zoom meeting Sunday, March 1st to go over a little bit more about the details, and you can ask us one-on-one questions if you're confused about anything. And then just some general announcements for this semester. Dues are due to Aiden by January 28th. So it will be $11 per semester. And if you Venmo him with this QR, you just include your name, number, and phone number. If you forget, if you paid just 1 semester or a year last semester, you can talk to him after the meeting or reach out to him. You're also going to want to join the email list for important information. That's the one with the little bunny. We'll send GB meeting updates, social updates, and job opportunities, internship opportunities, volunteering, things like that. And then we're also still doing our Christmas pet bandana sale. They are on discount for $150 per bandana. Brenda has them over there if you want them at the end of the meeting. You can also Venmo if you don't have cash. And then this QR is just a little when to meet. We want to have our schedule that's catered best to the general body. So if you scan this QR code and fill it out, it's gonna just ask you what days you're most available to meet for events outside of meetings. So that's like socials, volunteerings, tours of the vet school, herds, things like that. So if you want to take a picture or scan that, that's for every member, new or old. This is for this semester, like your best availability to do things like that. And then we'll also post it in the group me as well. I'll give you guys a second to scan those. Yeah.
Sorry.
I will fix that. I will fix that and update it and send it in the grouping. And then Addison has a mental health chair event, if you want to explain this a little bit.
So I am doing a letter to yourself. It will be a letter to yourself, like for the future. You're gonna be reflecting on your fall semester. And in that letter, you're going to be writing some goals that you are hoping to accomplish this semester. And then you will give them back to me with your first and last name dot number. And then I will at the end of the semester to see whether or not you accomplished your goals.
Yeah, and you can start that today, and we'll also be accepting them next GB too.
And I have
So, so you have like a full week to do them. And then our quote of the day is your feelings are valid. And then today we're going to do our vet school student panel. So if you've never been to one of these before, it's a really great opportunity to ask questions about vet school, VEMCAS, kind of a day-to-day from the vet student's perspective. We have Jacob Lansing, who's a first year, and he was OSU Animal Science undergrad. And then Emily Singleton, which is a fourth year in vet school, also OSU Animal Science undergrad.
Go back one. Yep.
Got it. So essentially what we have today is I have some questions that I sent to Emily and Jacob, and I'm just going to run through. We're going to get their responses to some things, and then, oh, Courtney, I broke your stuff. Sorry. And then based off of their responses, we're going to open it up to everybody else to ask questions. This is just a nice kind of area to get unsolicited advice from actual vet students, because we can talk about the field as much as we want. We can talk about how to get in as much as we want, but it's not actually anything compared to what it actually is to live your life day to day as a vet student. So I'm going to get Emily up and lovely. Okay. So Emily, thank you so much for joining us today. So everyone, as we mentioned, Emily is a fourth year vet student. She is in her clinical year currently. So she's running all over God's green earth, getting all her hours in and all her experience. But Emily, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, thank you guys for inviting me over to talk tonight. I'm sorry I couldn't make it in person. I'm on an offsite rotation this month, pretty much. So can't travel to Columbus, but thank you guys for meeting with me tonight. A little bit about me. I am originally from Wilmington, Ohio. I went off to Ohio State ATI for my undergrad. I began there as an animal health major. I worked in a swine barn there and a dairy farm as just some lab technicians. And then I worked at OARDC as a student assistant as well. There, I transferred to Columbus for my third year of undergrad and worked in the equine ICU here at the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center hospital. I applied for vet school, fortunately got in my third year of undergrad, so I was able to graduate, and then I've been here at Ohio State Vet School ever since. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I originally came into vet school large animal focused. I think all the small animal hours they require has asked me to become a mixed animal vet. So that's exciting. In a few more months, that's my plan.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you for being with us. So I'm going to go ahead and run through the questions. And yeah, just add as much as you'd like, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience.
Sounds good.
So, first question is, which of your 4 years was the most difficult and why?
This is a loaded question. So in undergrad, I remember hearing all the time, second year and fourth year were the two worst ones. I am here to attest, yes, that is correct. But I honestly could not pick one over the other. So I'm kind of going to go through step by step, year by year, what struggles I had, because I could not pick one thing overall for everything. So first year, it's like drinking, vet school in general is like drinking out of a fire hydrant. There's so much information thrown at you. And I always heard that analogy. I never like could make it make sense in my head until vet school. And I think looking back to make it a little bit more easier to understand to you guys now where you're at. 1 week of lecture material in vet school is equivalent, at least in my history and my notes from undergrad, to a whole semester of notes for one class in undergrad, if that makes sense. So 1 week in vet school worth a whole semester of undergrad classes. So it is a lot. I didn't understand. I was really good in undergrad about assignments, not really studying a whole lot, but more so like just checking things off, Carmen, checking them off the list. I have that done. I have that done. I have to study for this test. But in vet school, it's all studying for tests. From day one, it quite literally is nothing but we don't really have a ton of assignments. There are a couple things here and there, like they'll have you write essays or whatnot, and then like communication class will have like group assignments and stuff. But for the most part, it is nothing but studying. So that was kind of my struggle with first year, getting used to that. Second year, it was a lot harder material. So I don't know if any of you are familiar, but Ohio State has recently changed their curriculum to a flipped classroom technique. So it used to be before my time, it was an 8 to 5, you're in the lecture hall, you have all of these individual courses, and they have changed that to where now it is healthy animals first year, diseased animals second year, and then you learn treatment third year, and then you have your clinical rotations fourth year. So second year was diseases, lots of diseases, lots of information about all of them, being able to distinguish them and studying them. It kind of all crams together in your mind. So I think that's what I struggled with the most. But oddly enough, I had the best grade second year. So I don't know. It's like I said, loaded question. Third year, we have our live surgery labs. So those were you switch out when you're in a group, you switch out between surgeon, anesthetist, and assistant surgeon. So you have 3 live surgeries that are scheduled within roughly 6 weeks of each other. Those were pretty intimidating. Just doing everything by the book according to Ohio State. Like they want you to do everything a specific way. Just getting used to that technique, and it's all for a grade at the end of the day. So that was a lot of stress on top of lecture, on top of exams, on top of all the scheduling things. We had a lot more hands-on, like animal related labs. And then we we're also scheduling our fourth year, which was a couple months. It took a couple months to get that done as well. So I think that was the biggest thing for third year. And then now fourth year, I am on a different schedule every 2 weeks. Right now it's every 3 weeks for this month. But it's crazy. Like 1 week I'm on night shift in like the ER, and then like the next 2 weeks I'm like on an 8 to 3 type thing, which is great. But then I go back to like a weird on-call schedule and whatnot. So currently right now I'm on an off-site rotation. I'm on call 24/7. So I just kind of hang out here at the clinic and wait for calls to get in. So I think that's the big thing for fourth year, on top of managing job searching, working interviews, doctor's appointments, having a personal life, making dinner, like those kinds of things, they add up quick. So I think it's just the work-life balance. And this will be me soon, so I'm curious. But I was speaking with some fourth years who graduated, they were the year ahead of me, who graduated this past May. And they all say that the first year in practice is the worst too. So I have that to look forward to.
Oh yeah, so much fun all at once.
Yes.
Okay. What has been your most challenging obstacle through your vet school education, and what challenge made you grow the most?
I think for me, my biggest obstacle, I mentioned the curriculum. So my class was the guinea pig class for that curriculum, the healthy animals, disease, and treatment. I think it worked out at the end. I think now that I'm at the end in clinical year, I think it's all making sense. But at first it was a lot of trial and error with the school. Like when forming a new curriculum, they don't know what works best in different situations. So I think being a guinea pig class in that was definitely an obstacle I didn't expect to face in vet school. But they figured it out, and you're going to be talking with Jacob soon, it sounds like. So I'm sure he's going to have more input on what they've done within the last 2 to 3 years since I've started. But that was a lot of trial and error, lots of canceled classes, lots of like schedule changes and things like that. Study methods are definitely a big thing, and I can definitely touch on this later. But I was a big flashcard person in undergrad. That is not going to get you anywhere in vet school, unfortunately. And I really had a mental breakdown when I found that out. It takes you a long time to get through all that. And by the time you finish all your study guides and everything, it's time for the exam. You don't have time to sit there and actually go through to retain all the information. So I think active recall is a big thing that I have learned works for me, where in undergrad that would have not worked for me very well. So it's just finding what study methods you prefer. Yeah, just I think navigation skills were a big thing I learned. Just the vet school will help you with a couple things, like scheduling wise, but it's ultimately up to you to reach out to them for resources and they have guidance counselors, they have therapists on staff, like those people you go to for those resources that are very, very helpful.
If you could go back to your past self, what would you tell her to prepare her for her 4 years at OSU CVM?
I would tell myself, if I could go back, to be more of a go with the flow type of person. Understand, things don't always go the way I had planned. In undergrad, I planned out my day. I had the calendar from like 8 to 5, and I loved it. It was right there. You had it, all the cute highlighters and everything. But vet school is not that. Unfortunately, you're in class, say 8 to 12, and then you have an hour break, and then it's back at it, and then you might want to stay at the school to study, or maybe something comes up. Like there's so many different factors with your schedule that changes every day, and like meeting with professors, things like that. So I wish I could tell myself to expect the unexpected. And I think I'm just now getting into that groove at the very end. Like just take it head on.
What has been your greatest accomplishment, big or small, within the veterinary realm?
Within the veterinary realm, like relating to me just being in school, I mentioned earlier I got into vet school, fortunately, and as a third year in undergrad. So that was quite a surprise. Adding on to that, I entered vet school wanting large animal, and a lot of my peers who also entered large animal focused have decided to switch to small animal. And I like to say I'm still large, but I will be doing mixed. But I've stuck with that. A lot of students drop that towards the end. They get a really good job offer with all the benefits that's small animal strict, and that's amazing. That's something that we do need as new grads, and that's a whole other subject I don't really want to touch on tonight for you guys. But the large animal and equine too, if there's any of you equine folks interested, the pay is not there, so a lot of students do end up switching towards the end. So completely understandable, but I just feel like that's something I've been able to keep up on. Being a woman in large animal, being a small woman at that, where I'm at, is definitely hard. You get to these farms and all these like older owners of livestock, like, they look down on students like me. And I think that's hard to deal with at times, but every time you overcome it, you get the job done, and that's what matters at the end of the day. I also had a lot of, mostly in undergrad for sure, but a lot of advisors that would tell me like vet school's not an option, like with your grades, you should give that up. So I pride myself that I'm still here after all of that. So if any of you go through those things with your advisors or guidance counselors, whatnot, definitely you can overcome those things. I think that was a big thing that me, myself, and a lot of students in my class have dealt with as well. It's just unfortunately a big tack of the veterinary community. But I guess closing out with that, some exciting news. I'm trying to open my own practice right outside of graduation, which has been really difficult. But there's no practices out by me where I live, or where I will live. So I think starting that will be a big hill to overcome. But that's the beginning of it.
All right. What is one thing regarding vet school that isn't talked about enough, or was your biggest surprise?
I think I definitely touched on study habits. You got to figure out what works for you. In undergrad, it won't work the same for vet school for a lot of students. I think having an open mindset of what you're going to encounter. So I did touch on how I was large animal focused, switched to mixed animal. I think that if you're willing to see whatever walks through your doors, then you are golden. And I think that's what matters in a lot of these students as well. Like just this practice that I'm at today is heavily mixed animal, but the receptionist got a phone call about a snake. And me and the doctor who owned the practice, we were just sitting there running appointments, and the receptionist was like, "Would you be willing to see a snake?" And we both kind of looked at each other like, yeah, like we'll tackle it. So it's just having that mindset of, whatever they throw at you through school, if you keep an open mindset, you might like it. You might decide that's not for you, and that's okay. But this is the place to figure out, and these are the 4 years to figure out what you are interested in. So having an open mindset, and even that applies for like clubs and such. Definitely join a club that you would never have thought that you would join, that you'd be interested in joining. You will learn so much about something that maybe before you wouldn't have really encountered about.
Okay. Since you're rounding towards the end of your clinical year, which is crazy, what has been the clinical rotation that you enjoyed the most, that you went in thinking, I'm gonna hate this is gonna be terrible, but I gotta do it?
So this one's kind of a funny story for me, and I was picking some other students' brains as well to prepare for this. I would say orthopedic surgery. And I believe so as 4th years, we get an option, or somewhat of an option. I did not. But we're entered into a lottery for small animal soft tissue surgery versus orthopedic surgery. I am a person who loves surgery. I love the soft tissue things like foreign body surgeries, and anything that includes the abdomen for the most part, I really enjoy. But orthopedic surgery was not one of my things. That was probably my weakest subject going through the first 3 years. Learning about one topic first year and then not coming back to that topic for a year later to learn about disease and a year later to learn about treatment. It was hard for me to like clump all the orthopedic stuff together in my mind. Like I would lose it within the year, if that makes sense. So I'd have to go through and reteach myself everything for orthopedic specific, I guess. So when I found out the lottery system assigned me orthopedic surgery, I cried. And I tried to reschedule it, like I want to say 6 or 7 different times. It was an embarrassing amount of times to try to reschedule, but they would not let me drop it because it would drop below the minimum number of students it requires to have a full rotation. So it was like the weekend before, I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the one I'm going to fail through clinical year. I don't understand anything orthopedics. I was really worried about the schedule, the on-call, everything with that. But it was honestly a really good rotation. I would for sure repeat it again. And that kind of ties back to the last answer I had for the previous question, was just be open-minded about everything. Even if it's something that maybe intimidates you, I would encourage you to explore it a little bit more and try to have a better understanding of it. Have a teacher, and all the teachers at Ohio State are phenomenal, but have a teacher who is really passionate about teaching it. That will change and make it and break it for you. So definitely orthopedic surgery.
Okay, and your last question, what advice would you want as an undergrad preparing to apply to vet school?
The advice I had, and I honestly didn't listen to, but I'm going to give it now that I'm in this position, is not to try to prepare for it. Just focus on your studies in undergrad. I remember the summer before, I was working full time, and I was talking to some vet students at the time. I was like, yeah, I'm going to try to learn a little bit about antibiotic therapy this summer to get myself like ahead. Don't do it. It wasn't worthwhile. I've spoken with a couple other students who practiced like suturing and stuff before their first year, and it's just focus on, is everything okay?
Yeah, there's like a pop-up came up on the computer and I didn't know what to do. It's not mine.
I'll
Sorry,
keep going then. No, you're fine.
You're good. Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm so sorry. I made
What
you lose
was
your
I
train of thought.
saying? No, it's okay. Just getting
Don't
ready for
prepare
vet school.
yourself.
It wasn't beneficial for me to look over anything. I know you guys are super excited about getting into and applying to vet school and all the things. And it is a very exciting time, but I encourage you to slow down, relax, go out with friends, go out with your family, spend time with those people, and enjoy your time off while you can. Because when you are in vet school, you truly don't, it's hard to find, time to do those things. Like this clinic I'm at, for example, it's 15 minutes from my parents' house and I have not seen them all month. So it's you don't have time for those things like you think you will. So I encourage you taking that time off, enjoying it, focus on your studies in undergrad, work at a vet clinic. I highly encourage you guys to work at a small animal, large animal, whatever you're interested in practice. There's a phenomenal practice that takes undergrad students in Hilliard. I can give you guys some information on if you'd like. Don't worry about working on your technical skills like drawing blood and practices or anything. I wouldn't worry about doing that, but just getting around it, understanding, what vet med asks of you. Definitely form a relationship with those doctors. And I know I'm sounding a little bit repetitive from like a vet school application, getting that experience, but definitely that's what I would encourage you to do at this point in your careers.
Well, thanks. Does anyone have any general questions or anything they want to ask Emily at this point? Yeah. What's your favorite rotation?
Oh gosh. I want to say the one I'm on right now, but I'm exhausted. Oh goodness. I personally, for me, I would have to say doing my Marysville rotation at the Ohio State Large Animal Ambulatory Service location. If you guys have a chance there, they do take undergraduate students sometimes throughout the years. It just depends on how many fourth years of students in my class or whatnot that they have shadowing at the time. But the clinicians there will let you take lead on cases, let you talk to owners by yourself. They do a phenomenal job of walking you through cases, kind of letting you just take the lead, and you get to do so many hands-on things that you wouldn't get to do elsewhere. Unfortunately, one thing I didn't understand, I'm sorry if this kind of applies to earlier with one of the questions, but in a lot of the small animal rotations and even large animal too, it applies for everything. Rotations at Ohio State and many vet schools, their students don't do as many hands-on procedures and such that I envisioned they did. Like we can do, basic things, but they really focus on their interns and their residents to do those things, which is very understandable. It is a teaching hospital for everyone. But as veterinary students going through clinical year, I think it's important to find offsite electives who let you do things, because that'll kind of engrave in you the practitioner aspect.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Emily.
Were you involved in any clubs at that school? If so, which ones?
Are you involved in any clubs or were you involved in any clubs at that school? And which ones?
Yeah, I was involved with the veterinary business club, and then SAVMA, which is the just American level of practitioners. I'm sorry, there's a bunch now that I'm thinking of it. I was involved in Food Animal Club. I was a member of ABP and AABP. Those are the American practitioner of bovine and equine groups. And then surgery club through the school. I was a part of that. And I believe that was it.
That was it. That was a lot. Give
For
yourself more
school.
credit.
For school. I'm still involved in like FFA things back home, but yeah, as far as vet school, that sums it up.
Okay. Anybody else? Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna move on and talk to Jacob. So I'm gonna mute this side of the computer. I'm not gonna mute it, but I'm gonna go. You're welcome to stay on. You're welcome to get off, whatever you want to do. I know you've had a long day. I know you've had a lot of dystocias and a lot of cough. So do what
All
you
of
gotta
them.
do.
Thank you
And
guys. I appreciate it.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. I've been here.
We'll chat a little bit later.
For sure.
have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Okay.
Okay, how do you want to do it?
I'll have you stand by the microphone because
Okay. That's up
yeah,
there.
you're more important than I am.
Oh, goodness.
Does it go anywhere?
Okay. Oh,
I'm gonna make it go somewhere.
okay, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
You out, Lily.
Okay, I got this. Public speaking, right? Okay, so that was Emily Singleton. She was our 4th year. This is Jacob Lansing. I'm sure some of you, if you're not first years, you may recognize him. He's a legend at CFA, yes. We love Jacob. But do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. How many of you in here want to go to vet school? That's a stupid question. Anybody not want to go to vet school in here? Okay, great. You're in the right place. Okay, well, I am Jacob. I am a first year veterinary student. So I haven't been there very long. But it has been a great like 4 months or 5 months, however long I've been in the program. I graduated from here in animal sciences. I did 3 years of undergrad. So a little bit faster than what I had initially thought coming in. But I had some high school credits that I did at a community college. I'm actually from the same place as Emily, just a little bit south of there of Wilmington, which is in between here and Cincinnati. Um, I am interested mostly in farm animal, but now that I see the career, I'm probably going to be more of a mixed animal. If any of you know me, I do have a lot of experience and want to work with rabbits. That's a weird thing in vet med. Um, I think it goes in exotics is what I mostly see people put it in. Emily has probably more of a thought on that, but it's mostly exotic. So what do I want to do? Large animal plus rabbits and maybe a few cats and dogs.
All right, perfect. So, ready to get started?
Sure.
So, with Jacob, we're going to focus more so on application processes, his life in undergrad, because he's only been there first semester, so it's not as much of day-to-day life as
A pro.
but he's thriving. We're doing great.
Great.
I have so much confidence in you. Oh, okay. What was the most stressful or hardest aspect of completing your VMCAS application?
I did not like the VMPass application. Any applications applying just like makes me stress out really bad. And it's like, oh God, they're gonna judge me. This is not gonna be good. And my confidence goes out the window. So how many of you really loved writing the essay on your application to come here? All right. That's what I was most worried about, because I do not like writing the essays. So how many of you would say it's the most challenging part to write an essay for the application? Okay, that's more than zero. So that's good. That was also my most stressful situation, writing my essay. Lily shared a few of the questions with me before, so we can probably skip the next one of like my actual personal statement. Um, I have to like be on the move when I'm writing. So a lot of times if you're like sitting down and thinking about like how you're gonna write this essay that I'm stressing out about and like they're gonna judge me on, but like go for a walk and just like, okay, get a song going and then get like just like your notepad out, like pull out your phone and just like write down something you're thinking about, and then just like go in circles until you pull out the things that are meaningful the most to you, and then write your essay from that. So I actually wrote my essay in an airport when I was going to visit my brother in Spain. So my essay is kind of a story within itself. So you're asking about like they'll ask you a personal statement. So your personal statement is like, why do you want to be a vet? Okay. What's your name?
Diana.
Kiana. Why do you want to be a vet? I want to. Okay. Don't say that on the application. So that was what I struggled with too. I was like, oh, I want to be a vet. Like I like fluffy animals, and like I had the sheep thing at the time, and then I have rabbits, and it's like, cool, this is great, this is great. And then like, why do you want to be a vet? Oh, I don't know. Well, you have to come up with like a story to tell it, or you're not going to be like unique. And that's the hardest part about writing the essay, because once you figure out your story, the stress kind of comes off of the application. So my personal statement is mostly a story about how I got involved in vet med. I worked on a sheep farm when I was in high school, and that's when things were like, oh, this is really cool. And the personal statement goes into like a night. It was actually my 4-H advisor at the time because I was in high school, and she had called me at like midnight, and she was like, "Oh, I have some like ewes getting ready to land. Can you come out? Like, we'll learn through it and stuff." So I went through that story like in my essay, and I think that's really, really valuable. And then you also kind of shadow some experiences in that you have, that you've gotten to like where you're at now. So, remind me of your name. Kayana, what are some experiences you've had of why you want to be a vet?
Working with animals. I did my internship.
What kind of animals? Exotics? What kind of exotics? Sloths and birds. Where?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Oh, cool. When was this? This past summer. And then did you really enjoy that experience and do you want to work with exotics in the future? Okay, so why do you want to be a vet? Because I've had this really cool experience that I found out that I really want to be an exotic vet, that I've worked with sloths. And actually this past summer, I went to Costa Rica and I did XYZ, blah, blah, blah. I ended up on the beach. I had some nice drinks and it was really cool. And that's why you want to be a vet, okay? Not, oh, I want to be a vet. Okay, that's why you want to be a vet. Great job. Thanks for letting me pick on you. I'll get done with the question though. Sorry. I know we're out of time. That's why I'm doing it.
You're perfectly fine. Okay. What experiences were you most passionate to include in your application? What were you most excited to showcase about yourself?
I really like rabbits. I, with the help of some other people and these two people over here in the front of the room, have continued what I started here at Ohio State. So I started a club called Buckeye Bunnies here, if you know of the club. I really, really enjoyed it. It kind of goes along with my experience. At a national level, I'm in a national breed club and I show rabbits across the country. I've recently become a director of the club, which I love doing. So I get to share my experience with that. That was something that I was probably most proud of to show in my application. So when you're showing something in your application or anything to somebody in an interview, how many of you have done an interview before? Hopefully most of you. Okay, so if somebody asks you, about an experience, you want that experience to be something that you're like not surface level involvement in. Okay, so like, and this is honesty, I would not say that I was involved in the pre-vet club when I was here as a student in undergrad because I was very surface level. Like I went to like 1 or 2 meetings a year and I wasn't involved in it. Don't talk about that experience, okay? Because they're going to ask you questions about it in an interview or on your application, and you'd be like, "Oh, you don't know anything about this, or you weren't involved." So that experience for me with like Buckeye Bunnies, somebody could ask me about it, and I'd be like, "Oh, I do this, this, this. This is how it went down." And like on August 7th of 2022, I was doing this. Not really, but you have to know and have a deep like connection with that experience that you've had. Otherwise, they're going to be like, "Well, this isn't really meaningful."
Okay. Okay. What about your application do you believe helped you stand out as a remarkable applicant? Other than
I don't know if I stood out, but I did get in.
I disagree. I think you have a really cool resume.
Cool. So I think it comes back to the when you do something, you need to do it like really well. Like don't just do something to be involved in it. So let's see, who can I pick on now? Here, what's your name? Morgan. What's something you're involved in here besides pre-vet club? Pre-vet club?
Yeah.
Okay, how are you involved in pre-vet club?
Meetings and social events and stuff. Community engagement meetings.
Dedication. See, I only went to like 1 or 2 meetings a year, so those are things you want to like talk about. Like when you're trying to put together something to show like value, like for a valuable experience or an application, you can't just say like, "Oh, I was a general body member and I went to the meetings and that's what we did." Like try to if it's not super like if you don't have a ton of stuff to say, don't have it definitely at the top of your like list. Don't have it at the top, but you can like list some of the things that you like didn't have a much involvement in at the bottom. But it's most important to have the things that you're really involved in listed like in order.
Did you want to add something, Emily?
Can I?
Yes, please, Emily, add to
Yep,
this. I
just
hope I'm
adding-
helpful.
Adding on to that, the unique experiences I remember is a huge thing. Like every pre-vet student or every student who wants to apply to vet school is going to be a member somehow of like a pre-vet club, no matter what school they're in. So I would highly recommend, it is good to have it on there to show that you've done that, but also don't bank on that being getting in, if that makes sense. Unless, like Jacob said, if you're heavily involved. But definitely those unique experiences, those weird things that no one has ever not heard of, but just something that doesn't stick out to everyone else, if that makes sense. Like what does, like for me, one of my like volunteer experiences, I volunteered in a hospital gift shop. So just not a lot of 18, 19-year-olds want to do that. So just do something that sticks out, I guess, for your application.
Um, is there anything about your application that you would strongly want to change or improve as you went through your application cycle?
Maybe a little better grades. My grades weren't bad, but that's one thing I will say, and Emily probably can speak on this too. But like your grades don't have to be perfect to get into vet school. So if you're like having all these really good experiences and you're going out in the field and getting this like that experience before vet school, put on your application, you're really involved in clubs, like they show your leadership style, they show that you're a good communicator. Like that is so important. And you need to kind of blend that with, you can't have like a 2.0 and get into vet school. Like that's not going to happen. But you need to be able to show that, oh, if you're a 4.0 student, yeah, they probably just take you off that. 'Cause like, oh, you're super book smart. But don't feel bad if like your grades aren't great and you have all these cool experiences, because that's going to show like more of a person, like who you are, that, oh, you can maybe tackle a challenge. Than like if you're a 4.0 student, which probably some in the room, it's like, okay, well, when you get to vet school, that might be your first challenge of like academics. So it's like, how are you gonna react to that? Is my question. I would change my grades. I think I had decent experiences. I would have maybe have done a little bit more clinical hours in small animal. I had probably 50. And I'm probably sure most of you had more than that, right?
I had about the same. I had less than 100 total.
Yeah. Most of mine was large animal,
Mm-hmm.
little bit of equine.
Mm-hmm.
Equines and large animal, food animal, a little bit of equine.
There you go. Okay. Are there qualities of undergrad education that you think benefited you in preparing for vet school? Or is there anything that you think hurt you as you're getting ready? Anything that's vastly different?
I I think that undergrad education is excellent, especially like your coursework. If I was in animal sciences, so there's a lot of coursework that makes like the first year of vet school easier. But of all the years, like it took me, say, probably 3 years to get what we're learning in just the first one, if not the first semester. So I'd say for undergrad education, like do well in your classes, learn as much as you can, but also like figure out like you as a human, like figure out what you're best at, like what you're good at, get better at communication. I say I'm a natural introvert. People probably don't believe that, but I don't like public speaking. And I'm like, I was very nervous driving here. So that was something in undergrad I really worked at. So it's like, okay, I know as a vet, I'm gonna have to speak to people and clients every day to figure out what's wrong, like with their animal. And that was something I wasn't super confident in. So in undergrad, you join clubs, you join a leadership team, you become an ambassador of your college, and then you talk to people and you get better at it. And then you're like, okay, this is a great skill to have, because then you're going to have a communication lab and there might be somebody yelling at you, and that's the way it's going to be. So undergrad, I would definitely focus on getting some experiences, like all of you are now by being here in this club, but don't let your grades slack. Like I'm not saying that, but don't focus so much on your grades to where you can't enjoy it and have a little fun and learn a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Last two questions. What have you learned about yourself or just about life after your first semester in vet school?
I think that you get really good at compartmentalizing some things. So in October, I was a disaster. I first year, like it's fine. I got through the first semester, but in October there was like an exam every single week, and not something I was used to. I see Emily's head shaking like it. Um, she understands. And I think I struggled with the amount of content. And then I was so worried about like one class that I couldn't really move on to the next because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fail healthy animals and I can't even go into healthy populations because the exam's at the same time. It's like the next week. So I think something I've learned from being a first year is you have to have multiple things going on in your mind at one time, but then be able to pull out and work on like one thing at a time. So like if you're working on a class, work on that class as much as you can, as focused as you can. Have the other ones in the back of your mind because then when you're ready, set that one aside and pull up to the next one. So it's basically like multitasking, but if you multitask too much, you'll have some shortcomings. So figure out how to like separate things, like separate your tasks, and that's like the best thing, I guess. I hope that makes sense. Uh,
Okay. And then what is your biggest piece of advice for anyone preparing to apply to med school?
Try not to get too overwhelmed. I know it kind of goes along with what Emily was saying, like definitely enjoy like undergrad. I really enjoyed undergrad. I'm sad that I didn't have another year, but I don't want to pay for another year of vet school or another year of undergrad. So try to enjoy like the time you have now. And undergrad's like the time too to be like, oh, let's go try this one species that I don't know anything about. And like I learned a little bit about exotics. I was in the like honeybee club for a little bit. I was like, oh, I don't know anything about bees. I think I'm very, very allergic to bees. Um, so I was like, okay, let's try this honeybee club out. I really liked it. So I don't think I'm gonna be a bee vet, but in undergrad, it's really good also to kind of relax and be focused, but don't be so like yeah, it's terrible. My dad says pants in an uproar, but uses another term. But so it's like don't like be relaxed about things and go on with like your undergrad of like thinking about new things and trying to put it all together. And it may not make sense in the end. Be okay with that. It didn't really make sense in the end, like with me. And it probably won't make sense at the end. Maybe it'll make sense at the end of vet school, but just be okay with like not knowing because in vet school, like you'll learn that there's so much material that you're not going to learn everything. Because I I don't feel like I know half the materials even we learned today. So
All right, well, that was all my questions. So does anyone have any questions for Jacob?
yes, in the back.
Why did you really, what did it end up? Do you have thinking about?
It's like something that was required in my curriculum or like a general education class. In my curriculum, what's your major? Animal sciences. I think the animal health, like it's probably the most similar to the curriculum currently because it's flipped. If you have any flipped classrooms, so what does flipped mean? Somebody want to answer that? No? Yeah.
You like watch the lectures online by yourself and then come in like when you need to discuss it.
Yeah, so most of the classes that we have now are flipped, and that means that you watch the lectures. So I go in and I watch lectures, and then you come to class, and it's basically just a review session. That's how animal health was. I had it with Dr. Kiefer, and I will say that class was it was a lot of content, and there was an exam like every other week, but it may have changed now, but maybe you have an exam tomorrow, who knows? Um, Probably not being this early, but that class I think was great. Physiology, animal physiology, even if you're a biology major, please take that class. Take anatomy. Anatomy is like huge in the first year. And we just started doing equine dissections today. And then the first semester you do canine dissections. A lot of anatomy. Those two classes were probably the most helpful. Nutrition, I really enjoy. A lot of things come back to like nutrition too. Like there was a nutrition lab that we've had this year, but I don't think they focus a ton on nutrition. in the curriculum. So far, they haven't. Emily might think of some times that she's had some nutrition, but take advantage of that. We're in undergrad too, because it hasn't came up much. Things that I think that you need to get, if there's any classes at OSU that do dissections or on anything, like try to sign up for them. I think that's something that I really struggled with because I was like, oh God, anatomy lab. I've never done that. So I think that's something that will really help you for first year. You don't have anatomy after first year. So that's something that I would recommend finding too to really help you.
If you're animal sci, animal physiology lab, you do dissections and you also do it in companion. Um,
Take those labs.
yes. In companion lab, you dissect a cat. And then animal physiology, you do a heart and something else. I should know I'm a TA,
Very good.
but oops.
Take those classes.
Okay.
Just to add on for two more classes I remember from undergrad that were super helpful. I had a veterinary entomology course that was online that I found helpful and kind of wish I focused more. It was an online one during COVID, but that was pretty helpful. There was also, I'm trying to find the name of it exactly for you guys, but it was like an animal nutritional immunology. I don't know if they still offer it do they still offer it? That was a phenomenal course. I even refer to those notes in vet school now. I don't know who's teaching it now, but I'm sure they do a phenomenal job. I would highly recommend that one as well.
All right.
Any other questions? Yes, Aiden.
What's been your most memorable experience? You said that's kind of a tough question.
I know. Good experience. It wasn't in the month of October. Um, I think probably finding out that I passed, like that was a great feeling. I also really did like doing the anatomy, like the first anatomy exam, like when we did like the dissection of the dog, I struggled with because I just didn't have it figured out. But the second one, like I really enjoyed it. Like there were some mornings that I went in to like study anatomy for fun at 5:30 a.m. in the morning. I did have some tea, so I wasn't running completely dry, but it was good. Um, but I think that was a really fun experience. And then also like your friends, like my friends are wonderful in vet school, and like that's a great time to like enjoy the friendships you have definitely in undergrad and vet school. Because you get a lunch break for vet school, and probably some of my best moments come from like my friends saying, "Hey, you want to go lunch lunch break?" And we go to. I had Baby Bop the first time in vet school. It's grown on me. I actually like it. We go there like once a week. So I would say friendships too has been a great moment as well. We just had a break of a month and you come back and it's like, okay, like nothing ever stopped. So you just continue that on. But I think that's been great. Any other questions?
Good question. Oh my gosh, did you hear my voice? Anyway, who are your three letters of rec? Who do
Oh.
you use? Your three required. Should
Three
get that one.
required letters of rec. So I worked and still work at the farm animal hospital at the university. So I got a letter of rec from Dr. Lozier. He is one of the farm animal surgeons over there, and he was my veterinarian letter of rec. And then I got one from a professor, so Dr. Brooklyn Wagner. I TA'd for her, and I was in her physiology class in global food and ag, if you've ever taken that class. So she knew me very well, so I had a professor, and then I had Ryan Vonderhaar. Do any of you know Ryan Vonderhaar? He's a lovely human. If you ever see him, tell him I said hi. I had Ryan Vonderhaar do one for extracurriculars. Then I did have a fourth one on there, which was my supervisor at work. She's a vet tech, Megan Ward. Um, but I would highly recommend for applications. And this, again, I'm not on the applications for it. Like, don't take this to be like, oh, Jacob said this. It's like you need to have kind of well-rounded letters of rec. So like a vet you need, it's required. And then I had one for show like what kind of student I am. So that was the professor. And then I had one to show extracurriculars, so, like what kind of person I am. I don't know if Emily had the same or she can remember.
Do you remember your letters of rec?
I was actually just talking about this because I was on the phone with one of the doctors today. We referred a horse from last night in, so whatever. I had Dr. Eric Schroeder from the hospital. He's an equine medicine clinician. I had my high school FFA teacher. She was, I don't remember exactly the 3 categories, but probably more extracurricular because she's seen me on my bad days. She knows how I handle stress. Worked with her scheduling wise with a lot of things through school. So that was her. And then Dr. Linda Safe, she is a little different. I believe she was a DVM, but she is also a PhD. So she was just scientist in the lab. She was more my like higher up recommendation, I would say. So I had 2 doctors, 1 extracurricular.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one more thing. Okay, so remember how I started this with why do you want to be a vet? Please, please, please work on that response and think of that of like, why do you actually want to be a vet? Thank you for being the example. But that's something I had to really work on. Like, think of that. And if you want to like come up here before you leave and be like, Jacob, this is why I want to be a vet, then I'll give you a high five. But like, think of things of like, this is why I actually want to be a vet. Like, they're gonna ask you that question, it's gonna happen, and you need to know it, and it's just the way it is. So if you want to do it, think about why you want to be a vet.
Adding
Thank
on
you
to
all
that
for
really
having
quick.
me. Oh,
Oh,
Emily has
Sorry,
something.
sorry.
sorry.
If I can add on to that really, really quick, why you want to be a vet, just sit there. If you're having trouble with your essay or whatnot, sit there and really think, what is your passion? Like, what is your goal? What is one thing you want to do as a veterinarian? How to serve your community? One thing for me that I never would have thought, and it still kind of blows my mind, but one thing I talked about in my essay for vet school was food safety. Just being a food animal veterinarian, even in mixed animal, it applies. You know, if there's an outbreak, like right now, I don't know if any of you guys are, if you keep up with the things going on within like the food animal, you know, like health industry, but like screwworm is emerging back into the United States currently. And that's been a huge topic within all kinds of practitioners, even small animal, because we can see it in small animals. So I think food safety is a huge thing, public safety, teaching, you know, the community about, you know, pet wellness. I think all I have been talking about this week is like tick-borne diseases in small animals. And even though there's snow on the ground outside, like all these, it applies no matter what field you go into. So just think of something you're passionate about, something you want to improve. And like animal welfare is a big thing. Veterinary health and mental well-being is a big thing. Like it doesn't have to be, why do I want to be a veterinarian to help an animal? It's a whole world of different ideas. So just think about what you're passionate about, what you can kind of write a sentence and branch off of for yours. Like Jacob mentioned, having a notebook and like just when he goes on walks, like taking notes on things that come to mind. I was really bad about when I was at work. Like I would sit there and be thinking, like mopping the floor and thinking of things. And I just would get out my notes on my phone and type something really quick and then gathered all of that at the end to come up with my essay. So just those thoughts, what you're passionate about, what you care about, those kinds of things. And just so I'm curious, how many of us are, I know I can't see everyone, but have applied to vet school, are planning to apply to vet school? Do we have mostly first years, second years, third years? Who do we have in the crowd?
Great question.
How many of you applied? More than 0. That's about 5.
5, 10.
How many of you are juniors? Mostly juniors, sophomores and freshmen?
Good math.
Okay, lots of sophomore and freshmen, but
Oh,
probably like,
mix.
yeah,
Okay.
mixed.
Yeah.
And just because I'm nosy, do we have any large animal students in the crowd?
There's like 7 of us.
Okay, yay!
Better than nothing.
Good deal.
Okay. Well, I know I kept you guys over long. I'm very sorry about the technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you guys liked it. I can confidently say that I've learned probably the most from undergrad from Emily, quite genuinely. Just her talking about vet school and what it's actually like getting into the field and everything else of that nature. So when they're willing to be resources, please take advantage of it. These are 2 wonderful people. There's a lot of other wonderful people at OSU CVM. Please, please, please reach out to them because I promise they don't bite. I really promise. But thanks for joining us. We will be back in this room next Wednesday for another GB. Sorry I messed up your schedule a little bit, but it's a GB again next week, and we'll be going over shelter medicine. But yeah, you guys are free to go. Thank you so, so much.
Send me a message. If anybody wants to talk about something, call me.
I